historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
I think a new world order is emerging.
An inside job? How dare you? How dare you?
To create, so to say, mass-produced models of human beings arranged in some kind of a scientific caste system.
We shall go on to the end. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall never surrender.
Good day, everybody. It's the 9th of November 2016. This is UCY Radio. Check them out at ucy.tv. Is that right? I'm thinking com, but ucy.tv. Yes, there you go. I am your host, Walter Hendricks, coming to you from Holland, aka the Netherlands. It's 7 p.m. here. It's 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome, everybody. You can call in 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. And today is the day that the news came in. And I have a guest. Hi, Mike.
Welcome to a new America, a new and great America.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'd like to just start off by saying that it wasn't necessarily a vote for Trump. And I'd like for a lot of people, especially people not in the USA, to realize that it's not necessarily a vote for Trump. It was just a gigantic 330 million people scream of "Screw you, Hillary. We don't want any more Hillary. There is too much Clinton." Okay, so let me give you a little anecdote of my life. I live in a very small town in a rural part of Texas, and small to the point of where there's only 1,500 people and there's no stoplight in town. Okay. We got one gas station. We got two gas stations, a Family Dollar, and one little tiny grocery store. That's it. That's in this town. You come down here to fish. When I first moved here, there was a guy who had a section of fence that he had painted blaze orange, like hunter safety orange, and he had "Never Hillary" written on that, and that was 10 years ago. There is a long-standing hatred of the Clintons, and call them the Clinton cartel because that's what they are. There is an absolute long-standing, total hatred and disgust with these people.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind when I hear those words is Mina. Do you know about that?
Hey, I'll tell you what.
This town called Mina and drugs. Right.
And that's kind of like a joke. You know, we say that anybody who has crossed paths with the Clintons in in sort of a way that ends up poorly, they're on Air Arc inside Flight 666 with arrival at Mina on the way. That's they're killers. They are killers.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've been killing people for years. I mean, Arkanside is a real thing. I mean, there's just far too many convenient deaths associated with people who have any kind of association with the Clintons. So, no, I don't think it was necessarily somebody promoting Trump or like this realization that Trump is the man who's going to save America. Trump is the man who was not Hillary. And that's it.
Yeah, I was sitting in my car. It was raining outside, and I had a break from work, so I'd go in the car and turn on the radio, and I heard it on the news that Trump had won, and I was like, "What?" I thought everybody was sure that Clinton was going to win, right? So I was
Well,
like,
you know,
wow.
that's how it usually works in this place. We're so used to everything. I mean, seriously, to the plain corruption of it all, and we could see that the corruption was happening, you know, in the campaign as we were talking. And to be honest with you, I lost $5 on this whole thing because I bet on Hillary. I did not endorse Hillary, but I mean, that's just the way I thought it was. I mean, look, the woman sleeps with Lynn Foster de Rothschild. That's the wife of the richest man in the world. You know?
I saw that email, yeah.
I mean, I think, honestly, I think my bet was a safe bet, but, you know, I'm out $5, but I will totally spend $5 to make America great again.
Yeah. Hey, let me welcome everybody in the chat. Hey there, everybody. You can go to the chat if you go to ucy.tv and you will find a chat link there. 8Hawks is there, Baconator, Chemtrailer, Delnick, Grimner, Joe Friday, Jules, you are there, Mike, Road is there, me and Ufde, and 3 Anons. Real Liberty Media is another website you can check out for, well, I hate the word alternative, that's why I use the term underground radio. And I need to explain with that, because it's a term already used and it has a history, but the meaning I am giving to it is that of the old Dutch underground. That's what we called it, ondergrond. It's in Dutch, so you can hear the tie, right? And that was the resistance to the Nazis. All right, so that's why I think it's not that we're specifically against the Nazis, but we are against this war that is being waged against us, this war on our sanity that is being waged, and that's why I like the term underground radio much better. All right, and you can call in 718-717-8296 if you want to join us and talk about the things you want to talk about. So, all right, so we got all of the introductions out of the way. Yeah, Mike, I didn't follow any of the, like CNN or ABC for these political things. I really don't follow any of that kind of stuff. To me it's like a puppet show. But, that's why I lose interest in those kind of things.
Well, I'll tell you, I watched CNN, and actually I do not watch the visual of CNN. I listen to the audio of CNN. I think it's a completely different story when you listen to the audio versus when you're entranced with the moving pictures and all that. I find it a little more illuminating without the video.
Yeah.
Along with that, I watch CNN or I listen to CNN because I truly feel it's like spying on enemy communications. It's the plan. That's the official horse's mouth right there. So between MSNBC and CNN, you've got what you could. Yeah, I think it's the official word. You know, it's Pravda, it's TASS, it's Der Stürmer, it's the official newspaper. And
it's good to keep tabs on that. Yeah. Right,
and then of course I kind of like to get kind of a little bit angry at these fools because it saves on buying coffee to increase my heart rate. Like why spend the money when I can just get the rage for free?
Yeah.
Look at who the anchors on CNN are. Okay, so we just start in the morning. You've got Chris Cuomo, who's currently the brother to the governor of New York and son of the former governor of New York State. Right?
Yeah.
You've got Wolf Blitzer, who is former AIPAC spokesman. AIPAC is the American Israeli Political Action Committee.
And
you're not getting the truth from these people.
This woman Amanpour, I think her name is.
Christiane Amanpour.
Yeah, her husband is a guy called Rubin, and he works at
Right,
the
Robert Rubin. Right?
Yeah, he works
Absolutely.
at government. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, as an American, if Christiane Amanpour comes on in the daytime, something bad happens somewhere in Arab land. And that usually means if Christiane Amanpour comes on, we are getting ready to bomb somebody.
Huh.
And I mean, that's just how it works here. I mean, it's almost like it's a pre-programmed sort of a template. You know, if this comes on, this comes on. I'll tell you what, if Wolf Blitzer comes on before noon, bad things are happening. And I mean, you know, bad things for them. You know, they have to put the spin out. So this whole election cycle has been nothing but spin. I mean, more spin than a dreidel on steroids, to be honest with you.
Yeah. But there's also the difference between audiences, because if I tune into CNN, I get the CNN that's meant for Europe, you see. Your CNN is totally different. You get the USA CNN.
Right. Our CNN is dumbed down for our consumption, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and we get we sometimes get different stories that I know. I used to check that. I used to follow CNN. That's how I dropped live into a cartoon when CNN showed me what was happening on September 11, 2001. So yeah, I was following that too, and I noticed that the stories that I heard from my American friends about CNN were different than I got from CNN.
So and it's not just limited to CNN. I mean, it's pretty much basically all of our large cable news outlets, because you can look at MSNBC, which is I'm going to say another wing of the official government mouthpiece. I would say that's the wing that sort of panders to the more progressives, you know, the people unhappy with everything, and you know.
Can I ask you something about that?
Sure.
Yeah, and if you don't have the answer, it's no problem at all. I heard that in around 1776 and after that period, it was the Democrats who were more on the right wing, and it was the Republicans who were more on the left wing. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. The Democratic Party of olden times would be absolutely comparable to the perception of the American Republican Party at today's date. We'll just go for like right after the Civil War. The Democratic Party back then was not for any sort of integration or any sort of granting of rights to former slaves, and their literature and their was quite frankly what we would say is completely racist today. You know, I mean, with the caricatures of Negroes and this Negro will take a white man's job sort of thing, and that's what they built it on. And it didn't just end then. I mean, you can go all the way up to let's say Lyndon Baines Johnson, the president who took over after Kennedy was killed. Well, he had the program called the Great Society, right, which is the implementation of welfare, which is the knife in the back of the poor in the United States. And his statement was you pass my bill and I'll have these niggers voting Democrat for the next 100 years. And it's an offensive term, but that's what he said. He was an offensive man.
Wow.
So I mean, you know, and he was a Democrat. And so there's not this. I think that today's Democratic Party, with its interest in social progressiveness and racial equality, which is really kind of, I think it's all completely false. It's really nothing more than just a morphing of the modern Bolshevik movement.
Yeah. And then,
and to be honest with you, let's just discuss something huge out of the entire debate, probably, or the entire election cycle. Probably the biggest news to ever rock America was that Trump said pussy 11 years ago, right? That's just devastating. That was like 8 weeks of coverage every 30 seconds.
I heard about that.
The breaking news that Trump said pussy 11 years ago. Well, I find it really odd that the people most offended by Trump saying pussy are the gay black guys on CNN.
Oh yeah, that's indeed a bit strange.
You know, I mean, it just, I don't know. It's bullshit, and you have to know it's bullshit. I don't think you can believe any of it. You have to read between the lines. And you have to know when you're being lied to. And honestly, if they're saying it, they're lying to you.
Yeah. Yeah, we got this joke about politicians in Holland. How do you know when a politician lies? When he moves his lips, you know. So
That's right. And I mean, like, there's a whole
up.
lot of stuff coming out in this last election, and especially with the WikiLeaks and things. And I mean, any other president or any other politician, and these would have been massive revelations. I mean, there's all sorts of collusion, there's all sorts of impropriety, there's all sorts of corruption in these things.
Mm-hmm.
And the media doesn't want to talk about it because Trump's referred to vaginas a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, okay, last night my brother and I, we spoke about some of the emails that have been come out of John Podesta, who's Hillary's chief of staff. And some of these things are really kind of twisted. And I don't know if you happen to look up spirit cooking or the pizza parlor things that are going on, but this like gets into like, I mean, beyond child exploitation and possibly pornography and human smuggling and, well, you know, probably murders, you know. And then the crazy thing, and I mean, the whole thing about this is there's so many crazy coincidences that after a while, it can't be a coincidence anymore. It's just like Arkansas. You know, I mean, the joke was like right after Harambe the gorilla got shot, it was that he got shot because he had breaking news about Clinton's emails, you know?
Yeah, is that so? Huh. Yeah, I
mean,
didn't know that. I didn't know about that pizza thing and the other things you told me either. I saw maybe one thing in the chat, but
yeah, that's worth looking into. If you've got a strong stomach, it's worth looking into. It really is. I mean, it floors me. And my brother, he's in the military. He's an intelligence analyst. So, and he's been doing it for a while. He knows what's up. And he's reading these through these emails, and he picks out the code that they're speaking in code. And right, like black walnut sauce with beans and eggs on a pizza. Like this.
Right. Yeah.
Not even in California do they make stuff like that. You know? Yeah. And honestly, like black walnut sauce, that sounds like a dessert topping or something. And it's not necessarily for pizza. And then lots of missives about how, you know, certain things that don't make sense. Like, they talk about bringing $65,000 worth of pizzas and hot dogs into the White House for a party. Well, number one, $65,000 worth of pizzas and hot dogs is a lot of goddamn pizzas and hot dogs. I mean, that's $65,000 buys you a brand new Chevy 2500 diesel with the lift kit on it. I mean, that's a big truck. You know, that's not pizza money. And the crazy thing about that is you know, guest chefs and there's meals and dinners that are put on at the White House, and guest chefs show up and that kind of thing. Well, they don't bring their own food, right? If you're a chef and you show up, you don't get to bring your own stuff. You might be able to bring your own tools, like your own knife and fork and all that, but you don't get to bring your own spice. You don't get to bring your own rutabagas or arugula or whatever. You get that sourced. And I mean, I think you'd find that with any leader in any country, that they don't just, you know, take random food because, well, I mean, you know, poisoning people is something that's happened before. So, I mean, there's a level of security that's involved in that, and that's one of the things. And, you know, not even the president can violate some of these things. So,
yeah, one thing I wanted to mention, when you started talking, the word Negro came up. And when I was a child here in the Netherlands, the word neger was a normal word. It's spelled N-E-G-E-R. And it means what you said, Negro. And even in the Sorry?
In Spanish, Negro means black. It's just it's the Latin, it's the Latin representation of the word.
Yeah. But that was a normal word when I was growing up. And I used it in a bar last time, and people were staring at me like, what did you say? And I was like, what the fuck?
Well,
this
you know,
is
in
a
the United
normal
States,
word, This is what the fuck?
it's something like that in the United States. It's they're African Americans. Well, what if they're not from Africa? What if they've been in the United States for 5 generations? They're not
that
African.
doesn't make sense either. We don't say when somebody comes here, he is a Turkish Dutchman. No, we don't. He's either a Turk or he's a Dutch. And so it's the same. You can't be African and American at the same time. It's contradictory.
The hyphenization of the American identity will lead to its downfall. And if you start looking at it, that's in the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto, along with all sorts of other stuff that's coming down. The establishment of a national health care, the abolition of education and replacing it with Common Core. And honestly, if you watched any of that stuff on CNN last night, looking through the numbers as they were, tallying up the votes, you saw Common Core math at work.
Oh. I saw some examples and I just couldn't believe it. I mean, I thought she was like lying, that this can't be. This is so insane. But that's the only thing I saw of it. But also I noticed with nephews and nieces that go to school that they get different math here in the Netherlands also. So.
Well, anybody out there who's listening and is interested probably could look up, just Google search a Common Core math problem, and you'll see a simple math problem. Maybe adding 2 3-digit numbers together, and we all know how to do it. You line up the numbers, and then you carry the 1 and all that. Well, that's not how it's done with Common Core math. You have to round up, and then you take the remainder and you round that to something else.
I know. Yeah, I saw that.
Like
and
9
I was like,
steps.
wow, unbelievable.
Right. So I mean, I think
this kind of makes me mad, because they're totally fracking up what math is.
So if that made you mad, now you understand why people voted for Trump. It wasn't necessarily a vote for Trump. It was a great big middle finger to the system. It was the loudest way to scream no possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, we got one more way to shout no, but that's kind of deadly. I mean.
Yeah.
And maybe that kind of pushed it back a little.
I was looking at some older presentations from people in the 90s and even 80s. And they were also complaining about the TV and claiming that the TV had such a great influence on the public that it's become like their master, so to speak, right? And so, we kind of have that the same today, right? So how
I would say so. I mean, people use the television as a babysitter. It's an educational tool. It's a time saver. Yeah.
But how much of the people do you think actually know that TV is bad, but don't throw it out the window?
Just from personal experience, I've got some friends who have kids, and they'll keep the TV on for their kids. It's usually stuck on Disney Channel or Nickelodeon or a child's channel, and that TV's on. I don't know that they necessarily watch. Maybe they watch something in the later hours, but there's not the great big attraction to the TV. What I see more is TV being a way to advertise things, and people pay a lot of attention to the commercials here. And for some reason, it's always like insurance commercials that people pay attention to, and how they're funny and they have the best production values. Well, yeah, they're taking your money and using that. Car insurance is stupid, insane. It's because you get a goddamn little, a gecko that dances and makes you feel good about spending $85 a month for your 1985 Honda Civic.
Mm-hmm. So, but no idea how many people are
I'd
to
say
the fact that the TV is bad, but they still keep it in the house for some reason.
I would say that 10% of the people know that TV is bad and keep it in the house.
Okay.
And I would say that maybe 5% of the people know that TV is bad and do not have one. And then the rest, dude, it's Monday night. Let's turn on football.
Yeah, I know how it goes. We have that soccer here for that in the Netherlands. It's all over the newspapers and everything. Yeah. Bread and circuses, right? Or bread and food? What was it?
Yeah, bread and circuses.
Bread and circuses. Yeah. Yeah. So, but the math that why that makes me so mad is because math is the first of the quadrivium, and it pertains to number, and there is more to number than just adding 2 and 3 together. There are certain proportions in nature that can be numbered, so to speak, right?
And those proportions in nature are found in many things in nature.
Oh, yes, so many things.
You've got a special affinity for the number 9, is that correct?
No, you did, right?
Well, I
my
do,
number is 2. Anyway, that's my lucky number. I chose that when I was like 6 or so. I said, okay, I gotta choose a lucky number.
I don't necessarily think it's a lucky number. I think it's one of those key numbers. And we've kind of discussed this before. There's several key numbers, like 432 is one of those key numbers.
Yeah.
9 is one of those key numbers. And if you start looking into like vortex math with Marco Rodin, you see 9 repeats quite often. And you can even bring it down into just something as simple as the human body. There's the rule of 9s. 9 is kind of a dynamic number.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, I don't want to get into like gematria or any kind of like, mystical stuff about it. But I mean, there are definite things we do not understand. And maybe we don't understand because we don't have it, or maybe we understood it at one time and, that information got lost when the Air Force blew up the Library of Alexandria.
Yeah, but math, and I see this now because I forget his name. Maybe I'll tell it later. He told me things about Plato, and he said that Plato was focused on the idea of the true, the good, and the beautiful. Right? The true, the good, and the beautiful. And so in math, these proportions, they are used by artists, right? Like the golden ratio. And when they are used by artists, they tend to get aesthetics, they make beautiful things, you see? So that's one. Plus, it's also true. Math, is about true findings of new numbers or something like that, right? It has to be true, otherwise, your math is incorrect, right?
Math is the only true language. It's one
I
of those
heard
languages.
I heard that said before.
It can't be corrupted. Where, you just look at modern American English, and without the influence of text message speak creeping into language, and let's even avoid ebonics. Let's just look at traditional American English now. There's words we use now that are completely opposite and backwards to what the word actually means, and that does not work in mathematics.
Wow, yeah.
There may be numbers that are backwards in mathematics, but there's a signifier before it that tells you that this number is going to be backwards.
Well, we say turned upside down. In Dutch, it's omgekeerd, and this is a mathematical term, omgekeerd, in Dutch. If we translate that into English, it says turned around. So 5 turned around is 1/5. See, that's allowed.
We don't teach our children fractions anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's fun
Because-
to work with fractions. It's nice. But anyway, it's half of the hour is past, and I want to invite more people to come and talk on air about whatever you like. Maybe you wanted Hillary to win, and now you are so sad, so call in. 718-717-8296, 718-717-8296, or contact me via Skype at Solvinur. That's SOLVINUR. Solvinur. All right.
So, like, as you're kind of like, you said people call in with maybe they wanted Hillary to win. I would love for somebody to call in and give me the reason why. Because basically everybody's reason why is because she's not Trump. And honestly, my reason for Trump was he's not Hillary.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what people actually found as something that attracted them to Hillary. Honestly, I can't stand her voice. I hear somebody who's lying every time she speaks. Just the tone of her voice, no matter what she says, and honestly, I think she was, if she would have won, she would have been the most divisive president in the United States. I mean, it would have been almost outright rebellion at her first statement. And honestly, she was going to go after the people that she famously referred to as the basket of deplorables. And
Yeah.
I mean, look, let's be honest about it. The people she was talking about as the basket of deplorables are the Americans who have jobs, the Americans who go to work, the Americans who might like to drink a couple beers and watch football. They take their kids to T-ball on the weekend. They still go to church. They have a firearm. They don't necessarily want to see, two gay men in, assless pants walking around Home Depot, like making out on the PVC aisle or something. They've got a moral standard. And there was the great big divide to where this sort of, I'll call it perversion, was to be accepted, but traditional American values were evil. And I mean, look, my focus is firearms, right? And Hillary immediately comes out and says she wants Australia-style gun control. Well, number one, that can't work here for many different reasons. Number one, Australia is an island. We're not an island. Australia, up until a couple of years ago, was a largely homogenous nation. I mean, like you were all Australians or you were an Aboriginal. There wasn't, tons of Turks or Asians of, whatever flavor coming in. I mean, now that's changed with their immigration in the last 20 years, which has happened since the gun ban. But, it just won't work here. It's not the same kind of place. And that's one of those things. She wants to take the firearms because there's so many gun deaths. And well, number one, tell me why a gun death is worse than a knife death or a drunk driving death or an angry man beat you to death with a hammer death.
That argument is absolutely invalid. I would suggest that more guns would prevent more deaths.
I would tend to agree with you. I personally believe an armed society is a polite society.
Absolutely.
And I'll just give anecdotes from my life. I like to go to gun shows in the United States. Those are kind of an interesting affair. It's usually held in a large arena. There's a bunch of folding tables, and people have guns on these tables, and you can buy them. And they attract all sorts of people from every walk of life. You've got from doctors to gangbangers that come in.
Yeah.
And
just
I'll tell you what, gangbangers are stupid. Guys who embrace the hip-hop culture are morons. They've marked themselves as, number one, as easily identifiable criminals, and number two, they've marked themselves as undesirables, but they're still in society. Well, you go into a gun show, and I'm going to focus on these gangbangers. Like the whole ethos of that life is that you have some sort of braggadocio. You got a swagger. If somebody steps on your shoe, you take it to them. It's this kill or be killed, and it's really actually kind of funny to see people who come in with that top dog attitude, and they come into a place that's packed with regular people and people who are not wearing sports jerseys and gold necklaces and rhinestone sunglasses with a funky haircut. And it's amazing to see these guys who outside in the parking lot were talking like they were in the middle of a rap song, bump into somebody and say, "Oh, excuse me, ma'am, I'm very sorry. Here, you go right ahead." If they can do that there, why can't they do that in the regular world?
Yeah.
And maybe it's the fear of you're going to get shot, you're going to get beat down, you're outnumbered. And you know what? Maybe that's what they need.
Yeah. Yeah, just for people that think that it's contradictory to claim that more guns means not only less murders but also less crime. Just imagine a situation where we here in Europe hear a lot from in the United States is these so-called school shootings. This one shooter would not be able to shoot as many people if those people were armed, you see.
Yeah,
it's just that simple. And also,
and the school shootings happen wherever they can. It's not necessarily an American thing. In Germany, there's been several mass shootings.
Oh yeah, but we have our Operation Gladio here too.
Yeah, I would dare say that a lot of the school shootings here are something very similar to that. And we can go back to the one that really tugs on the heartstrings. And we'll go back with the Sandy Hook thing. And we'll take a look at the Sandy Hook shooter. I don't even want to say the punk's name. But, he's a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid who's autistic and very slightly built. And by slightly built, I mean he's 5'7", and he weighs about 115 pounds soaking wet.
Okay.
The weapons he was said to have carried were quite heavy. For a kid with no actual real training, maybe a couple hours range time, he manipulated that weapon like a champ. He had a hit ratio that Navy SEALs would be envious of.
Okay, wow, that's all.
And you start looking at the guy who provided the incident that gave the impetus for the gun grab in Australia. His name was Martin Bryant, and the same thing. He shot up a restaurant or something in Tasmania, and he had 30 kills with 40 rounds. I mean, that's an insane shot
that's
percentage.
high, 75%.
Yeah. And it turns out that this dude is pretty much a window licker. He's a half step above a retard. And I mean, I don't mean that in a cruel way or anything, but it's the truth. I mean, he's in jail right now, and it's kind of like a mental hospital, and all he cares about is getting more teddy bears. The guy's not with the program.
Wow.
And he wasn't with the program before it happened, but he was, what was Marinus Vanderloob? He was, quite similar to that.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, then you start really getting into interesting stuff. Like Tasmania is not a seriously populated area, and they don't have an outcropping of mass deaths often enough to warrant, the purchase of 3 coroner's hearses that have the capacity to take 6 bodies apiece that just happened to show up in that area right before the shooting. And then there's questions about the rifle. The rifle was turned in prior in a previous gun buyback attempt. That rifle supposedly had been turned in, and the owner had the number. And when they posted a photo of it in the newspaper, he said, "That was my rifle. I have the number here, and I have a receipt." And that guy disappeared.
Wow.
So I mean, when something like that happens, and especially when it happens at something that would tug the heartstrings of America, children in a school getting shot up. Oh boy, that's horrible. But honestly, God, take a look at Chicago. Take a look at Detroit. Chicago this weekend had 55, 57 shootings and 17, 18, 19 deaths. And there's no outrage there. But that's not, that goes against I guess the plan, because the people who are committing the shootings in the Chicago area, number one, they're blacks, usually shooting other blacks, and you can't really discuss that. I mean, in the United States, if if somebody commits a crime and they put out some kind of warrant for him, they put out a 6'2", 185-pound male wearing T-shirt and shorts and a hat. Well, great. What color is he? This is the United States. We got a lot of different kind of people running around, and some of them are tall. Is he black? Is he white? These are kind of things that are helpful in identifying him. But if you say that he's black, well, then you're just being racist and you're perpetuating a stereotype. Never mind the fact that this is the dude that shot up whatever.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. When here in the Netherlands, as you may know, we're not allowed to have guns. It was like that when I was born, so more than 50 years. And this is the kind of nonsense that you will get if you live in a society that doesn't allow guns. The thing is that the criminals, they don't care. And so on the news today,
right?
Yeah. So that in itself should tell you enough, right? But these criminals in
but the goal isn't to remove the firearms to create any sort of veil of safety or an illusion of safety for the people. That's not it. At least in the United States, it's not it.
Well, it is here, yeah.
Well, honestly, I don't think it is there either. And
well, look. No, you forget that we've been living in a society that doesn't allow guns, and people are afraid of them. You see,
they're trying to do the same thing here. They're trying to,
they think that a gun on the table can all of a sudden stand up by itself and start shooting people, or that's how afraid they are of a gun.
Right. Absolutely. So it's an irrational fear of an inanimate object.
Yeah.
You might as well be just as afraid of your couch or your
Yeah. But anyway, to finish my story, these criminals in Amsterdam, they've been shooting up shops in Amsterdam. And how does the politicians react to this? Okay, well, if a shop gets shot at, then it has to close for 4 weeks. That's the kind of nuttiness you get.
That's
insane, right?
Closing for 4 weeks. Is it because that this place that got shot up is now suddenly a target for violence or something?
I don't know what kind of strange logic these people are using. It's really insanity. Yeah.
Well, I'll be straight out honest with you here. In the United States, the logic that is used for firearms legislation is nowhere near logic. It's irrational fear. And you start looking at common denominators, and you start seeing the same last names always involved in the firearms debate. And they're the ones that end up pushing for it very, very hard. And they get certain associates that are not of the same faith or creed or whatever. And I guess that works out well because it distracts from the serious issue. But honestly, I honestly think that the Jews want Goyim or Gentiles, non-Jews, to be disarmed. And maybe it's it's a genetic fear of being Holocausted again or whatever. But they're the ones that are always doing it. And then you start looking at it and really start kind of having questions. And unfortunately, in the United States, these questions they're not really all that well tolerated. And that's where I really start having a problem is if this is something that's happening and you can't talk about it, you can't ask questions about it, that you have to accept this load, sight unseen, sign for delivery now. And that's not the way it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another thing that comes to mind is the shooting we had of our political leader, Pim Fortuyn. Maybe I've told you this before.
I'm a little familiar with that, yeah.
Yeah, he was a very popular guy. The Dutch people believed that he would be the next president. And he was saying basically all the right things, right? And then he got shot by somebody with a vague reason why he was shot. And also casings of bullets were found about 10 yards or 11 yards away on a roof where the shooter was down in this place. And the roof was like, I think, I'm guessing now, with 3 or 4 meters high. And so it was 11 yards away. And he was very close to Pim. He shot him from about 1 or 2 meter distance. And you can see his casings laying all over the floor very close by. And so this one shell casing on the top of the roof was probably some kind of insurance, because they wanted this guy dead.
Well, not only some kind of insurance, but it's also definitely going to be a very different caliber than what the man on the street had.
Yes,
so
that is also been established.
Shooters.
Yeah.
There's 2 shooters right there.
Yes, and only one got convicted, and he's actually walking free at the moment. He served his time, so to say. And then, of course, indeed, as Ufde points out, Van Gogh, Theo van Gogh, on the Netherlands, Theo van Gogh, we say. You say Van Gogh or something. He was very instrumental in pointing out the difficulties with the people coming in here from other countries. And he didn't, as we say in Dutch, put a leaf in front of his mouth. You know, he just said what he wanted to say, and he was very popular. And he got a lot of media attention also. And he was also shot. You know, these are 2 people that would have changed our society if they had been allowed to live on longer.
For both of these people had the ability to change the society in a way that would have made the Dutch people stronger, maybe in a more nationalistic way, less immigration. Okay, well then let's take a look at somebody like Barbara Lerner Specter.
Uh-huh.
And Barbara Lerner Specter, who, I believe she's a citizen of the Netherlands, and her big thing is to bring in as many immigrants as she can to destroy the culture, and she's as much said so. And
I didn't even know about that.
And you start looking at her, and of course, you know, she's in the same subset of people who want to grab the guns and you know, basically end up making all the trouble in the world. But you can't call her out for that. You can't call her out for her views, because, well, then you're just a bigot and you're a whatever kind of xenophobe, anti-Muslim, whatever it is. Never mind the fact that these people don't fit into the society. And I mean, we see it in the United States. We've had like an influx of Somali immigrants that they put in Wisconsin and Minnesota. And for people who aren't familiar with Wisconsin or Minnesota, those are like snowy areas that have lots of lakes and outdoors. It's like the traditional view of the mountains and trees. It's got nothing in common with Somalia. Not a thing, other than the sun shines there occasionally. That's it. Well, who makes the decisions to bring these people into that area? And, you know, is there any consideration for the people who live in that area and their way of life? No, you're just being a bigot. You have to let these people in here and let them try to, you know, quote unquote, assimilate. There is no assimilation.
Yeah. We had these.
I mean, you see it in your area. You know,
yes, we do.
If you're not, you know, in Saudi Arabia or someplace that you're going to get, you know, stoned for, you know, driving a car and not wearing your headgear, why the hell are you still wearing it here? If it's, you know, it was so oppressive over there and you needed to come here for freedom, why the hell are you still, like, playing by their rules?
Yeah. Yeah, what you say about Somalians reminds me of here in my town, there were refugees, so to say, and they all went into these apartments. For Dutch standards, these are like high buildings, like 6 floors or something, or 9 maybe. And these people were put in these apartments, and what they would do, as they apparently do in their culture, is they would throw all their trash on the street, all of it.
Just
And
straight
so-
out the window.
Yeah, straight out the window. And so, it became a big mess out there. But apparently, this is
Is there
the
like
way
a
that-
welcome to the Netherlands class that your government puts on? Like, welcome to the Netherlands. We do not throw our trash out the window here. We do not grab. We do not try to assault women in line at the grocery store. Is there anything like that? Because there's nothing like that here. The only thing that you get anything like that here for an immigrant is welcome to America. This is how you get onto the government dole. This is how you step up to the teat.
Yeah, well, there is something.
Here's where you get your free stuff at.
Yeah, there is something like that. In fact, if you come here and you want to stay here, then possibly you can. It depends. We take in so many thousands a year, And then you have to go through this whole process of which a Dutch person would say, excuse me, why are you asking me these questions? But they have to answer them about the Dutch culture. They have to learn some things about the Dutch culture. And they have to be able to speak Dutch a little, at least. And so they get like, I don't know how many years, but I think the maximum is 2 years or something. They have to do exams, and if they pass, they become nationalized. They are then Dutch. Yeah. But to get back to the Somalian people, is that it is normal in their culture. And why is it normal in their culture? Because if somebody there throws away trash, there's always somebody else that can use it, you see. That's how that got in there.
That sounds like a load of bullshit to me.
You think so? These are poor people,
Poor people, whatever. If they're poor, they're not throwing things out.
Sure.
If they're that poor, they're not throwing things out. They're making do with what they have.
Well, maybe it's a bullshit story. I don't know. That's what I heard anyway.
Man, I'm gonna tell you this. It's all a bullshit story. That's all we've been told. Look, I'm
sure, yeah.
Old, right?
Yeah, sure.
And my nation has been bankrupt since before I was born. This nation went officially bankrupt in 1971 when we come off the gold standard. Right? That was just like me saying that I'm not going to pay you with cash. I'm going to pay you with cigarette boxes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand what you mean. There should be, like we do now at the moment actually, more communication between Europeans and Americans about their culture. Because even in the 1980s, when I went to Canada, people asked where I come from, and I said Holland, and they asked me, why are you not wearing wooden shoes?
People want to know why I don't ride
everybody here wears wooden shoes. We are a first world country. Hardly anybody wears wooden shoes,
It's the same thing here. I mean, people want to know why I don't ride a horse everywhere. Well, because a horse poops everywhere and we got cars.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of idea. I don't know. Maybe I can't speak for other people because I've been to America. I know how big it is and how big the fracking cities are. It's unbelievable compared to Dutch standards. It's really amazing. But
I know for a fact that my big truck would not fit on several of your streets.
No, it wouldn't. I know that for sure. But even
I would take up like 5 parking spots for Fiats.
Yeah. There's been a little bit talk about trying to make our parking spaces bigger because, they were small to begin with, like Dutch standards, everything's small. But our cars kept getting bigger and bigger, and now people can't get out of their car anymore because, the car is too big.
I'll tell you what, in the United States, the car is not necessarily getting bigger, but the people are getting bigger, and they have a hard time getting out of the car.
Yeah.
And you brought up that you're a first world nation, you know, relatively industrialized, and with the program. A lot of people think the same thing about the United States, but newsflash, folks, we're a third world country. We are a third world country with cable TV and air conditioning.
Yeah, well, okay. I must admit, first world, maybe before the euro, maybe when we had a guilder or something. I don't know, but it's been going down. Absolutely. You know, what we used to pay a guilder for, you now pay a euro for. And we had to pay 2.2 guilders for every euro. So, you know, it's 100% rise in prices, basically. So that would bring you one world down, right?
Well, and we see that here. I mean, there's no, I mean, no matter what Trump says, there's no plan to make America great again. No, the plan is to equalize the United States, Canada, and Mexico to the, you know, the Mexicans.
Exactly.
Make the entire United States
look
like
at the EU and see what's going to happen in the States. That's what I say. Look at the EU. We have a European Union with a currency. That's what you're going to get there also. You're going to get a North American Union with its own currency. That's very likely.
And now you know why that Trump was absolutely hated by the media. Because Trump's idea of a wall, whether it was bullshit or not, whether we're going to build a wall or not, just the idea of that wall ruins that whole North American Union plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a long time in the making.
Yeah.
You know, that's over 20 years in the making.
Well, with the European Union, I mean, these people, they
And
are
one
so
point
fracking, these are such fracking cowards, you know, that after generations have passed, they finally dare to come out that when with their celebrations of, oh, we have 50 years of European Union now. When the time when this idea was born, right, was in the years just after World War II. And what was Hitler's big idea, according to the Dutch anyway, was a united Europe. So everybody was against the united Europe, you see.
But it's easy to be united against that kind of issue when you are fat and happy and you've got a warm place to sleep at night. When you are cold and hungry and starving and wet and in horrible conditions like post-war Netherlands were, because, well, honestly, we bombed the shit out of you guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, you'll take anything at that point just to put some food in the kid's belly.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, Mike, it's 57. I want to thank you.
Thank you, man. I enjoyed this. This was a hell of a lot of fun, and maybe somebody got like some kind of perspective on like the view of how maybe normal Americans see Trump.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for joining me. I was thinking, this would be a good idea to talk about politics a little, which we did. So.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. When is your radio?
I am Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on UCY.tv.
Tuesday night.
The 7th listener gets a free box of 22 long rifle.
Wow. Count me in.
All right. So now we need one more to get to the 7th listener.
Yeah. Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern?
Eastern Time. Primer time on UCY.tv.
UCY.tv. What? Primer time. Check it out, guys. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Thank you, Walter.
Take care, buddy. Thanks a lot, everybody in the chat room. Bacon, Cam, Dale, Grammy Mary, Grimner, Grump, Hopper, Jules, Mike, Road Dog, me, myself, and I, Ufde, and Tuanons. Thanks a lot for listening, everybody. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.
To create, so to say, mass-produced models of human beings arranged in some kind of a scientific caste system.
We shall go on to the end.